you guys. We're here today with Dr. Urbitztondo, Elena Dr. Urbitztondo. I've known Elena for a long time because Elena, you're kind of like me, remember? I think me and Elena both were what you call military brats.
Military brats, that's right.
Military
Air
brats.
Force, right.
Air Force, yes. You were over in Kadena,
I was in Misawa, and then I
Misawa.
was in Yokota.
and then I was Dakota. That's
Yeah.
right. And we're not too many years apart, are we,
No, no,
Elena?
no, no.
Okay, I had just invited Dr. Urbitztondo on Ark-La-Tex Gazette Plateau because she is now a family psychiatrist, nurse practitioner. Am I correct? I'm gonna let Dr. Urbitztondo tell you guys about her practice and how she ended up in the industry of being a nurse practitioner of mental health. Am I correct?
Yes.
Take it away. Tell them about.
All right. So a little bit about me. So my name is Elena Urbitztondo. Initially, I wasn't really planning on concentrating, going towards mental health.
Right.
I was actually trying to go to med school, but trying to specialize on anesthesia. That's what I wanted. But
Right.
of course, there's different. Something happened along the way where I was kind of brought into a different direction, so to speak, and I started experiencing what anxiety and depression felt like. And a friend of mine who was a nurse said, why don't you work with me in mental health? And I was one of those, just being as transparent and, as honest here, I was very, with the stigma that's associated with mental health, right? And I was like, no, I'm not working with those people. Those people are crazy and depressed and, right?
Right.
But meanwhile, I was hiding behind closed doors. I was also
Right.
experiencing depression and anxiety.
Okay.
And I think it was really God that kind of led me along the way to, explore. And so when I ended up really opening up my mind, I realized that I was able to connect with these people because I was also dealing with the same thing,
Same
anxiety
thing,
and
yeah.
depression. And it really made me feel broken inside that we all look at, mental health with stigma and we don't take it seriously that all these people are also victimized by that.
Right.
So ever since then, it became a passion of mine and I started pursuing it and I just started falling in love with it.
And when did you? I know you've been a nurse practitioner how long now?
Oh gosh, going on 6 years.
6 years.
Mhm.
Because I know now you have your own practice.
Correct.
And where is the practice? Where is it located? Tell me about the service that you provide.
Yeah. So I practice at 2924 9th Street at Building 4. It's Suite 402. And so it's a private practice and we provide services with evaluation, medication management, and psychotherapy. So if people want to get evaluated just to kind of get some more answers and understanding about what they're dealing with in terms of mental health, we provide that. So, if they meet criteria for diagnoses, for example, if they need, perhaps if they could benefit from medication management, and then psychotherapy along the way as well. So we provide those kinds of services.
And I know, Elena, since we were friends, we've been friends for years. I'm always talking about, of course, our community, and all communities are the same. I think across America.
Right.
We keep trying to say it's different, but I think it's the same. We're all the same things.
Right.
And I see that the homeless population has grown in Shreveport. I'm not sure when you first. I came back here in '94. Then I left and came back, but solidly. I've been back here since '07, and since '07, I've seen the homeless population just kind of sprout. Because when we were younger in Shreveport, I didn't see. I'm not sure if anybody else had, but me as a child, I was here since I was in 7th grade. I didn't see really. I seen a very small homeless population, if any. Maybe 1 or 2 people in the neighborhood may have, slipped and fell along the way. I hadn't seen it. So I know. First of all, tell me how your role has evolved. First of all, before we get to this homeless population, but I think this is going to answer my question. Since you've been a nurse practitioner from the first day, how has that role evolved to where you are right now as having your own family practice?
Sure. So, before I start, kind of started, side by side, having my private practice and also working at a hospital where there's more acute type of patients. And most of them are actually, the less,
Right.
fortunate. And there are, let's say, in poverty,
Right,
a lot of
right.
them cannot seek help or treatments, right? And so compared side by side, they're a lot sicker, and a lot of these people cannot, like what I said, get the services or the treatments that they need, which is unfortunate. So that really helped me understand that we need to reach out to these communities that are less privileged, right? you know, and like what I said, comparing it side by side, the people that can afford, the people that have, you know, the health insurance that could seek help immediately gets better, you know, because they get the treatment as soon as possible compared to the ones that would love to, but they can't.
You can't.
Right?
Right, and that's where I got to the homeless population. I jumped ahead of you. That homeless population that have you seen, and do you see very many patients and clients that's in that population, maybe have been in that population is the question. With the, needed your service.
Yes. So, you know, I have always tried to be involved in the community. I did the hub, and we also have like different, I provide other community services with like, foster home children, and some human traffic victims that are also, didn't have any, like, couldn't afford, right? And because of that, they're able to kind of started using different coping, mechanisms that kind of led them to those less unfortunate situations. So, and people that are getting out of prison, like women that are going back to the community and need medications or evaluation so they can get back to, getting a job, for example. I've seen those people and I offer, my services for free.
That's wonderful.
I think it's really important that, like what I said, we try to reach out as much as we can and, try to help these people that cannot really get this kind of, services and treatments.
Right. Because, where I live, I think I've told you this before, Elena, this is what I talk about all the time. I just did a live, I think 3 days ago, about, what I'm seeing in the community. And I know you're a nurse practitioner, mental health, a psychiatrist, and I'm noticing especially in the African American community, driving down the road, and I see, and it breaks my heart every time I see it. I think every day I probably be dropping a couple of tears. I'm serious. I'm not just saying this because we're on Facebook Live, okay? I'm driving down Lakeshore, and I see all these people right there before you go I-20 East. It's a man, and I'm sure people watching this, and they go down Lakeshore Drive, they see this one man that always breaks my heart. He sits at the bus station, the bus stop, and he has it Depends on, and his pants are falling down. And we drive past him every day, and obviously I can see there's something, either substance abuse or mental health. I don't know per se because I don't know the guy. And then I also see, several other victims there, or people there that are either substance abusers or something. It's a big homeless population that sits right there. Even the one we have downtown, and then we have one on Levy Street. Then we have this one that I have to see every day, because a lot of us don't have to see it every day. I would like to know, nurse practitioner, mental health, what do you suggest for people like me who see it every day, first of all, because that brings on a hint of depression and anxiety for me, which people don't think about that, because, some people may feel this way, but others don't. But I get a little depressed, Elena, when I see that.
Of course.
It brings on anxiety. That's the anxiety comes from this. When people are homeless and they're going through substance abuse problems, then we get a little bit afraid at certain times. I do. At certain times of night when you're going that way, because typically they have a mental health issue. And with them having that mental health issue, that brings on anxiety. Then I get depression from even seeing that. And then I know that person may be depressed and whichever. What do you guys suggest for, see both sides, the homeless side, the people like us? What do you suggest?
Funny that you say that. So when I first started, I started working with our veterans at the VA.
Okay.
And most of them actually experienced trauma and then depression and anxiety and then leading to substance abuse, right? So they're always coinciding, and they're always mostly tied to each other, right? So I always say this, because there's so many, like until now, we came a long way, but there's still so much progress that needs to be done in understanding mental health. And one of the things that I still would like to, advocate for is to really understand and look at mental health differently. I think, the stigma that's associated with that is what's stopping us from trying to reach out to these kind of people.
Right.
Of course, I don't want to say, go ahead and approach them immediately, because, starting substance and you don't know what it is can make a person violent if they're actively hearing voices or certain things that's commanding them to hurt you, right? Then you're putting yourself at risk. But there's still so many resources, for example, like, calling, someone like a police officer or someone to come in, and check on this person, right? And sometimes they may just need to take them to the hospital, right? So they can get evaluated and checked, because they may be not taking their medicine or could not afford to take their medicine, and now they're back in the streets, right? So there's so many things, and again, and I hate to say this, but because mental health is still less understood. Even our, the people that we count on, like police officers, I feel like there's still a long way that we need to do
Right, right.
to advocate for them to understand it differently.
Right, because I know that, I even have a little brother, that is autistic. And if he didn't have my family as a support system, and that's probably why my heart is even bigger for it, is because I know if he didn't have us as a support system, then he could be someone on that corner and no one knows that he has these issues.
Right.
If he didn't have anyone that made sure he take his medications, he had his basic needs, he could be that person. So I think that I'm also seeing, even with the incarcerated population, a lot of those individuals I'm seeing have been I'm not sure if they've been assessed before, if they have mental health issues, if people know they do, but I think it also, contributes to the population of the incarcerated, a lot of mental health issues. Have you seen that as a nurse practitioner?
Yes.
A lot of the guys I don't know, because I'm not a nurse practitioner, but.
Yes. Yeah, so like what I said, I do provide, like my services to, patients that are, or I wouldn't say patients, like previous inmates, right, that are now getting released in the community. And most of them were never diagnosed, right? And most of them were never treated. And so they end up being in prison or, doing something because of, like, for example, impulse, right? And because there's, like, bipolar, for example, could lead to that, and they needed to be on medication. So when I see these patients coming into me and, I get to evaluate and the sadness and all this, like, challenges that they had to face, in life, because they were never treated, or no one really understood why they behaved the way they did, right? So it's also hard for them to navigate and how to, like, use those coping mechanisms, because they don't know how. They were not aware of what they were dealing with, right? But the more they understood, and the more they go, that makes sense. That's why I was like that. That's why I'm always trying to figure out why all of a sudden I get depressed and all of a sudden I'm happy. And then when I'm happy, I'm kind of doing, like, risky impulsive behaviors. Right? Because no one explained to me that this is also, like, chemically induced in the brain, right? So, those are the kind of things that I'm seeing a lot more, that most of those people that goes in prison or get incarcerated are actually dealing with mental health conditions or disorders.
What would you suggest? Because, oh man, Louisiana has the highest incarceration rate, that for like the last, I think we're going on 17 years now. I mean, Oklahoma came up 1 year and then we went back down, and then we came back up, Louisiana did. What do you suggest for the prison to school pipeline? Since we know what you're saying, a lot of those individuals that are incarcerated, maybe, we don't know for sure, I don't have this data, but if we're starting very young in school, and a lot of those kids go to special education classes, where do we start to assess, to give some type of diagnosis very young? And I know they've been doing that, but what we're talking about right now, has it been, successful? Is it working? Because we're saying that most of these individuals had been diagnosed, they're in prison, they didn't know. So how do we start today, you see, to stop this domino effect of these non-diagnoses of individuals with mental health, so that maybe we can help, crime prevention, or even reduce recidivism. What do you suggest as a?
I think there's so many things that I think we can start early on. Assessment is an early age, evaluating their environment where they're growing. The more we get older, the more it becomes a habit of ours to how we cope with certain things, right? And because you're less aware, you don't understand, your insight is not as great, because you're connecting, okay, well, this is like a form of survival, so this is what I'm gonna do because this is what's happening, right? But early prevention, I always say, is the key. So I was actually reading an article last night, and it's, like providing ACE assessment for adults, like pretty much like, going back and evaluating the environment that they grew up in, and some of that can lead to personality disorders, right? And then, of course, personality disorders, and then anxiety and depression, substance addiction, And so I think the earlier we start, even at school, is integrating mental health assessments to children and their family along with it, then you can understand why children behave the way they do. And then, addressing, like, early prevention, right? To, like, let's say, okay, sometimes, like what you said, like, kids with autism are less understood, right? Because they will have tantrums, meltdowns, and things like that. But if you don't know, and then, is it just autism? Do Do they have a great support at home, right? So I think like early assessments that begins as a child, you know, so that you can already incorporate, you know, mechanisms, other resources and tools that not only that person will need, that family as well.
Right.
Right? So I think that is something that I would like to hopefully see, you know.
I'm not sure if they're doing something like that in the school systems now. I know that, like I told someone the other day, I think they have the harbor now that does some prevention as far as, I think they do parenting. I'm not sure, I think they did something similar, but I'm not sure how effective it was, or you know, I don't know all the outcomes of that program. I just know that, I do see a lot of, individuals that are just not diagnosed.
Right.
Then even coming home, a lot of men don't understand what you just explained is antisocial personality disorders. I also find that a lot of these individuals I'm finding are their social behaviors they don't understand the difference of antisocial behaviors and then social behavior. They think their social behavior, they think it's normal.
Right, yeah.
I got told some guy that said, you think it's normal if somebody walks down the street and they scream and holler at you, then you may shoot them or beat them up. I'm finding that a lot of them saying that's normal. If he hit me, I would hit him back.
Right.
When the antisocial behavior says something totally different.
Totally different, right. I mean, you know, like what I said, it's so important. I think we came a long way, but the community is still lacking the knowledge on how to address, you know, people. I think I've shared this with you one time when you and I met, you know, there was a police officer, I can't remember what state it was, but one of the guy, that they called the police, you know, to their dad because their dad was not on his medicine. And then, you know, the dad was like a 6'2", and he was hearing voices, of course, right? And the voice was telling him to, like, you know, do something. And they were telling the police officers to, hey, he's just not on his medicine, you know, pretty much like, this is not him when he's on medicine.
Right.
And, but, so when the police, I don't think the police officers really understood the severity of that and, you know, how to navigate in order to, like, help that individual. And so the guy started approaching him, he started shooting at him and ended up killing him in front of the family. You know, it's so important, particularly for the one that is, like, bringing this new generation in, right? And people that really has the power to help the community grow and understanding mental health. It really is, like, you know, we have to do it together as a team, right? Starting from teachers, firefighters. It doesn't really matter if hey, that's not what I specialize in. I don't specialize in mental health, but that's the only way we can connect with each other.
That's what we're finding out. That's what we're finding out. We didn't know that before.
We didn't know that before.
I didn't know that.
Because I have a lot of patients that are a bit older and they're struggling, for example, with ADHD. And back in the day, they would say, well, my parents just said that, you know, that's life, or, you know, I'll get a spanking and this and that because I wasn't paying attention in school, you know, but now it's being understood that this is also, you know, part of mental health conditions, right? So like what I said, it's so important that everyone at least, you know, be proactive to try to understand mental health so that way we can connect with individuals that, okay, if they see someone that have poor eye contact and, you know, like certain demeanors of movements, you know, they're not unique. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're dealing with mental, but that doesn't mean that their mental health condition is who they are.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Because answer this question, because I say this about myself sometimes when I'm talking about mental health. I go, well, I think all of us have a little bit of mental health issues. That's what I say, right? And I say that because I consider, and I could be wrong, because I'm not an expert at it, that depression and anxiety are they contributing factors to mental health, or could that be mental health? Because I always say, I get a little depressed sometimes, I get anxiety sometimes, so, and think about the whole world right now.
Right.
Everybody either probably depressed or have anxiety because of what's going on in America.
Right.
So, are we all a big mental health melting pot?
Well, nobody's perfect, right? I always tell my patients, if you're expecting the life to be perfect, then you're already wrong.
Okay.
Because if there's something that's guaranteed, life will not be guaranteed. Right. There's always going to be some challenges that you're going to face. We're all going to be dealing with some form of mental health issues, like whether it's depression and anxiety. The only difference is, are they debilitating enough to where it's impairing you to be, you know, like your performance, your relationship with others, your relationship with yourself? Are you not taking care of yourself anymore? You know, you're not taking showers, not cutting your fingernails. You know what I mean? So if it becomes debilitating enough, then I would say then it's severe. right?
Okay.
Because no one is perfect. We're all gonna be dealing with, I mean, I worry about my patients, if they don't show up, are they okay?
Right.
Right? So I want people to understand that not because this patient is seeking help and they're diagnosed, doesn't mean you don't have it.
Right, right.
You're probably, you know what I mean? But it's just a severity of it, of how is it affecting you, and
Right.
assessing it, and how is it affecting, you know, different aspects of your lives.
Do you think with the, what's going on in America, let's be honest, you know, we're talking here, this is informal.
Yeah.
Everything that's going on, we're gonna go, homeless population is one thing, and I'm asking you, because you're a nurse practitioner, this is what you do, she's counseling me right now, you guys. If, what's going on in America right now with all the media, the movements, do you think, I'm being honest, do you think that a lot of folks are walking around right now with a mask on, because of depression and anxiety? And the reason I ask that question is because I have a friend, and she's white, and what she's going through her job is a lot of toxicity, bullying, all these things. And she cried to me because she voted outside of what people wanted her to vote for. And she's the only, you know, person that did that in her peer group. So now she's depressed with anxiety, think that she has to move away, doesn't know what to do. And do you know how many people feel like that? So what would be your approach as a nurse practitioner if I came and sit in your chair? And I'm sure as a lot of us probably feel this way, if people have been impacted losing their jobs, now you're gonna have people impacted, SNAPs being cut, Medicaid may be cut,
we talked
housing may be cut. I mean, you're gonna have a lot of mental health people going through. You see, so what's the approach we can send to the whole community, the city, and say, hey, let's get ready on a mental health level, because we're gonna need it.
You know,
I mean,
I say this, you know, because there's so many things that I'm seeing like with our current events, you know, that I really, really strongly disagree about. But of course, with what we do, we have to keep our, you know, professional and our political views, you know, separately.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying is, you know, we have to respect each and everyone's decision because they have the right to, whatever it is, whether we disagree or not, right? I always say this, you know, there's certain factors that we have to look at. Are we hurting someone when we're doing that, right? You know, because sometimes our own personal political view could be, you think that it's doing you good, but are we, you know, and sometimes guilt can also, you know, induce when, like, for example, your friend, because there's so many feel, you know, that they're affected by that individual's choice, right? But to answer your question, I'm already seeing that.
No, me too.
I'm already seeing so many individuals that are having panic attacks because of what's happening. You know, economically, you know, we're all struggling. You know, whether you're making money, the taxes and everything else. Like I'm telling you guys, you know. But yeah, it's so true. So we have to really prepare to understand. And quite honestly, you know, even individuals, like for example, those people, you know, I think there's so many things because a lot of people don't like seek mental health, you know, don't seek therapy, don't seek whatever. So a lot of those people are probably just having to work because they need to survive. But in the midst of it all, they're probably dealing with personal issues because they're struggling financially because of economic changes, right? We're talking about, I hate to bring the R word, but that's another thing, right? Separation and not and you know, not being included and all these other things. So, you know, and it projects, right? It projects like bitterness and hatred and all these things. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot more of that. I think just being aware that we are all different, still having the respect and keeping the respect, but now we're gonna have to prepare, like an army of us that needs to really understand that mental health is gonna really skyrocket, you know.
So what do you suggest for people who are going through maybe, you know, like they've been impacted? It's like I just said, what do we tell them, you know, to cope, or like a daily coping mechanism? What's a good daily? You know, something.
Self-love. Self-love is so important because it doesn't matter, you guys. I mean, you know, it like in combination, we can be more powerful together, right? But sometimes it's out of our control if we're trying to do it alone, right? And it's out of our control, unfortunately. So I always say, you know, there's some things that we can control, some things that we can't. However, it's so important that the things that you cannot control, you pray about it, you let it go, right? and control what you can, but nonetheless, you have to not forget about yourself.
Right,
Because that is the only way you're gonna be able to even keep your livelihood, to even go to work,
right,
if you're okay,
right,
right? Because people are dealing with like severe depression, they can't even function,
right.
right? So if you do not find a balance of trying to take care of yourself, then it's really going to be hard
Mhm.
to even survive
Mhm.
with
It
what's
is.
happening with our country right now,
Right,
right?
right. What are your thoughts on our mental health in this community right now? Like, I know you can't talk about your clients, but in a whole, Shreveport Bossier area, what are your thoughts on the mental health in this area? Do you think we're pretty healthy, or there's always need for it, isn't it? It just,
You know, I think we're still subpar when it comes to it. I
Mhm.
think there's still, like what I said, a long way to go
Long way to
in
go.
promoting and really reaching out to those that needs it and
Mhm.
could benefit from it.
Mhm.
But then again, there's also lacking too of like, you know, people that wants to be in the mental health community of providing those services and, right?
Mhm.
So we need to like, you know, hopefully, like what I'm saying, because we're getting to know more about it, you
Mhm.
know, even like celebrities and stuff are openly talking about
Yeah,
it
they
now.
are.
So hopefully, you know, we get to that point to where there's more of us that's willing
Right.
to provide this kind of treatments and services, but there's also, and not only relying on the professionals, right? But the community as a whole really trying to be open about it and trying to reach out to those that really needs it.
I see, that's a hard thing. I think in the African American community, because I'm speaking, because I'm African American, so I'm speaking on behalf of
Mhm.
African American, and it may be a thing for white, black, you know, Asian, doesn't matter. We don't like to talk about it. We are very proud people. We don't want anyone to know. Um, you know, I think we go into a closet when we experiencing depression, anxiety, whatever it may be. I think that we don't talk about it aloud, and then we're the most disappropriated population. I think we're bigger in poverty, lack of we have all the lowest numbers. Okay, I'm being honest here. I mean, we're just live. We're just talking informally. We have the lowest number. We're afraid to talk about mental health. We don't know. I think it's become a social norm sometimes in the African American community for us to feel like, oh, we're supposed to just feel this way. Oh, well, this just happens. But at the same time, we're depressed. So that brings on a hopelessness.
Right.
Where we say, we just sit here, we just do nothing, we just, but at the same time, I'd like to know we have a lot of mental health agencies in the African American community. We have thousands.
But it's not
And
being
so,
utilized.
Yeah, so
right?
it's either not being utilized or it's not effective. Something is going on because it's almost mental health agency, almost like a church now. They're on every corner. I just like to know what's the approach you think should be taken. I don't know. I'm always thinking about it constantly because I'm human too, and I go through things that other people go through as well. How do we get those folks? How do we get that African American to maybe put down their arms or something? How do we?
You know, when I do this kind of things, you know, it really gets me sensitive because our culture is the same way.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
it's like that's life.
Okay.
You know, get over it. That's life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Move forward.
Yeah.
They'll be okay.
That's what we
right?
were taught. We were taught.
That's how we were
But
taught.
we're starting to break down.
right?
It seems like it's not
But,
working anymore.
but also, I think one of the things too that we have to also understand is cultural background. How do
Okay.
they perceive, you know, mental health,
Mhm.
and how do they, you know, seek treatments and help, right?
Mhm.
Because a lot of the things like what you said, realistically talking here, right? What I found mostly with African American culture is because of what they've been through.
Yes.
You know, generations and generations, right? And so a lot of that is that I'm strong
Mhm.
from being that, you know, from being looked down to,
Mhm.
right? From all that like pain and suffering,
Mhm.
I'm now strong.
Mhm.
But amidst of that, it's really like this coping mechanisms that you cannot longer hurt me,
Right.
nor use that against me because
Right.
I'm a strong individual,
Right.
right? And so I think the most important thing is you said something there. It's like reaching out to them as I'm human too.
Right.
Let's forget about the background. Let's forget about your color. Let's forget about the race. I'm
Right.
human too.
Right.
I understand there's no one that's perfect, but all of us are going to go through depression, anxiety, because we are all going to deal with struggles.
Right.
Unless you're perfect, and the only perfect person here that walked in earth is Jesus, and
Right.
he was crucified as well.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think the most important thing is like what I said, is reaching out to these people as a human being,
Mm-hmm.
not someone that I know, I'm a doctor or I have a professional background.
Right.
I think it's just, being more sensitive that, hey, we're all dealing with this.
Just meeting them where they're at.
Where they at?
Meeting them where
Exactly.
they're at. I think that's a good, I try to do that all the time, just talking to people daily. I just wish that, when I'm in the African American community, I can see it on some people sometimes, just being in the store or something.
Mm-hmm.
And not that I'm Jesus or I can see through somebody's skull, but it's a nonverbal thing. You can feel the energy. And I do feel when I'm out in the community that there's a lot of people going through those things,
Mm-hmm.
and I wish that, we had a lot of Elenas that just sit in grocery stores all day, that just could see these people, but I would just like you to let them know, how they could see you if need be. What they call?
Yes. So, if you wanna contact me, we have a phone number, it's a 318-408-2880. We also have a website where people can, connect in terms of wanting to schedule an appointment. And, I'm actually, like in the process, trying to like bring some more people in.
Oh, good,
So that we
good.
can reach more in the community and, with insurances and different, various insurances that we can accept.
Right,
So I'm excited about that, but
Right.
that takes a little bit of time, of course.
right,
We kind of talked about where I am right
Right,
now with
right.
insurance, right? But I'm excited
right,
about that.
right.
But, yes, I really challenge, I guess. I
Mhm.
want to challenge everyone to really understand mental health, learn more about it, and reach out to those that you feel could benefit from that. Meet them where they are and try to understand that we're all human beings and we're all gonna experience challenges in life that,
Right,
that we do not ask for.
right,
We're gonna be depressed, we're gonna be anxious, as long as it's not debilitating to us,
Right.
So I think as us together as a community,
uh-huh,
we'll go further than just one professional like us,
right,
you,
right,
trying
right.
to do it on our own.
Right, because I know you have a lot of mental health agencies here, and I think everybody's probably,
It's not enough.
it's not enough?
It's not enough. I have been getting patients that would, say, hey, I have been trying to reach out to this, they can't see me until 3 months, 6 months, whatever. We need more, because
Oh,
what
I
we
know
do
that.
is specialized, right?
Right.
It's a specialized field, but like what you said, how many people
Right,
really do need it?
right, it's going to need it.
And
Coming,
it's going to need it.
uh-huh,
And a lot of the times, like we kind of talked about the less privileged, and
Yeah.
by the time they seek help, they're already very sick and acute. So it's we need to get more out there. in the
Right.
community.
right,
Yeah.
right, because like I said, I'm just concerned, for myself, number one. I'm human too, I'm not
Yeah.
superwoman.
We're not super. No one.
I am
is,
not
yeah.
superwoman, so I just know that if I'm feeling this way, I'm sure it's a million more of me. And like I said, with this MAGA changement, homeless population is probably gonna go up, especially if it's proposed.
With the interest of the homes going up, and it's just hard for us
interest
to.
of the homes
yeah.
going up, people can't buy houses. If the proposal goes through, if that Section 8 may be closed, it's just, I just want them to be prepared, Elena. I know we
Mhm.
talk about it all the time.
Mhm.
And I see that you're in the community. I know that at one point, I know you're gonna still do it. I know you're just not ready. But at one point, you just want to go out and give your service for free. But we still have to live.
Because I'm one person,
You're
but
one
now that
person.
I'm bringing some team, I
Okay.
think I can be more active, and that's
Okay.
my plan. So
Okay.
that's why I'm excited about it, because
Okay,
I can, I can kind of like do whatever more that I want to do
Right,
with
right.
how I envision to
Right.
reach out to the community.
right. I wish we could do like a knock on the door assessment or something. I mean, I've got to
I-
that point,
you
like, knock, can we do an assessment on knock on the door?
It would be interesting, right? But I
Uh-huh.
think that's why we have to work together as a team, because sometimes you don't know if they have active hallucinations that are
Oh, yeah.
preventing you. So sometimes that can be very, risky to do.
Yes.
However, like being like, like let's say like an open community, like where you can put a table and just ask for people, free
Right.
assessment,
They
for
they do
example.
that, but
Mhm.
still.
But
they're
the knocking on the
pride,
home,
they're-
right? Or if we do that, it would be great if we have like a police officer that's accompanying
Yeah,
us or something.
yeah.
But however, they still need to be trained to understand
Right,
that this person is just dealing with this disorder, but they
Mhm.
are not their disorder.
right,
Does
I
that make
understand,
sense?
yes it does, yes
Yeah.
it does. Elena, thank you for coming out.
I
And-
appreciate it.
And,
It's
and
my
I hope she
pleasure.
comes out all the time and give us information, you guys, her and some others, on mental health. I do believe, I'm dealing with some, I get depressed sometimes, you guys, I get a little anxiety, I think that we all do,
We
so.
all do. Yeah.
Thank you, Elena, for coming
Thank
out.
you so much.
All
My
right.
pleasure.